Yeah, so this is now the Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is the director's cut of the film, which we saw and reviewed in 2017 when it came out, and it was a total mess. And now there's been a fan-fueled campaign. The tagline was "Release the Snyder Cut," and now we have it. It's available for home viewing, and it is 4 hours long. Here is a clip.
The box brought Victor back.
Victor wasn't dead. Life is either 1 or 0. It's to be or not to be. Not both.
Can you operate this box, Victor?
Of course. But we don't know enough about Kryptonian biology. There's no telling what's going to happen.
Okay, but I mean, we have to try. Don't we? We have to try. What do we have to lose?
We cannot try unless we activate the box. As soon as it wakes up,
The enemy sees it, comes, activates the Unity, the end.
So what we have to lose is the entire planet to a bunch of genocidal aliens. That's good to know.
Even if Superman could return, who's to say that he could defeat them?
So if you're a huge devotee of this, you've probably seen it already because it was released on Thursday. And let's start by saying that the fans have responded very, very well to this. They campaigned for this cut to be released, and they've now got it. And the response from them has been very, very positive. And also, I see that the response from some critics, who I very much admire, has been very positive as well. The general feeling is, I mean, I've actually some really glowing reviews. I should say at the beginning of this that I'm not particularly invested in this world. I really couldn't stand the original cut that was released in theatres in 2017, which was, as I understand, completed by Joss Whedon after Zack Snyder had to leave the production due to a family tragedy. And that version was universally panned by pretty much everybody. So now this version, which restores the film to the original Snyder vision, and it is a substantially different experience. It, as I said, been embraced by the fans. It is a very, very different film to the film that came out in 2017. Now, firstly, I'm not a huge Zack Snyder fan. I think that his films range from, the kind of entertaining silliness of 300 to the utter dreadfulness of Sucker Punch. And I have problems with Justice League that no amount of expanding, cutting, shifting, changing is going to solve. I still think that, I've seen the whole 4-hour cut. I think that some of the visual effects still look like CG video game outtakes. Some chase sequences look particularly shonky. There's endless amounts of people hitting each other and flying off and being bashed against walls. I think that the dialogue in both versions is incredibly wooden. I think that the characters, despite the kind of increase in backstory, character building stuff that you have in this version, they're still very flat packed. And I think the plot is just, I'm not interested in it. I should also say that I don't have a forensic memory of what was in the original film. I pretty much blanked out the memory of the first film, so I can't say, well, this is different and this is different. All I can tell you is that the viewing experience is substantially different. So, as someone who over the years has campaigned for director's cut releases of films that I care passionately about, for example, Ken Russell's The Devils, or perhaps more esoterically, William Peter Blatty's Legion, Exorcist 3. I do understand the desire to see a movie as it was intended, rather than some focus group botch. And having spent 4 hours watching the Zack Snyder cut, I can tell you it is an improvement on the disastrously disjointed theatrical cut. However, I still feel that it's very uninvolving and, frankly, rather boring. That said, it is now uniformly boring, as opposed to before, when it was fractured and disjointed boring. In fact, I went back and watched my review of the original one, and we did talk about how they changed the tone of it halfway through, and the whole thing looked like a hodgepodge. So this feels like a coherent entity. It is coherently dull. And I understand entirely that if fans are hugely invested in this particular cut, then they have got what they wanted, and that's fine. I don't think there's much in there that will attract a new generation of viewers to suddenly completely reassess it. Although, as I said, many of the reviews have been, for me, bewilderingly positive. I think it's turgid. and I think it's bloated, and it has an epilogue which is half an hour long if you include the end credits titles. So it's, and I, also bear in mind, I'm somebody who thinks that Heaven's Gate is rubbish, and I've seen two versions of Heaven's Gate. So my feeling is, okay, this is now a coherent, very different, substantially different, coherent bore. I don't feel emotionally engaged in it. I have no problem with it, being out there. I'm glad that the fans have what they're asking for, and that's good. The one thing I would say is, it is a film in which I have been conscious that critics have been bracing themselves for the fan response online. And I think that that's never a healthy circumstance.
Why were they doing that?
Well, because it is true that people who have been champions of this cut, certain sections of them have been fairly poisonous online. And I have heard many reports from critics, and it's often been female critics, who have had to put up with disgraceful amounts of trolling. I think that Clarice Lochry of this parish, I mean, I haven't seen this week, but I think that she had some, I haven't read a review, and I don't know what she thought about it. But I would say this is that, it's out there, that's great. Nothing any critic says is going to make it stay or make it go away. So the people who want it, that's fine. I don't like it. I think it's boring, but I think it's coherently boring. But if you disagree with a critic about what they think about the film, that's fine. If you attack them for thinking differently to you, then you don't deserve cinema in any form, is what I think.